Hey guys, Coach Pippin here from Pippin Performance, and welcome to the Fit Project, your weekly workouts designed to help you be strong, be mobile. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel below to get the latest workouts as they're posted. Stacy is joining me here for today's workout, which is all about preparing the body to run from a mobility perspective. In order to run, you have to have control on your feet, ankles, knees, and hips. Without one of these, you are setting yourself up for certain disaster. Today, you will learn some great techniques and a unique system to expand your current ranges of motion and develop control within those ranges. No equipment is needed, so let's get going. Today's workout includes pails and rails ankle dorsiflexion, ankle cars, tibia cars, pails and rails hip extension, hip cars, quadruped hip extension passive range holds, hip flexion passive range holds, and finish up with some toe cars. Alright guys, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to get into is pails and rails dorsiflexion. And this is all about increasing our dorsiflexion, which is basically the ability to bring our toe up to our shin. And we need a whole lot of this in running, so we're going to try to expand that range using the pails and rails. So we're going to have Stacy kind of get in the half kneeling position. So her right knee is going to be on the ground, left foot's going to be out in front of her. And so first off, we're going to sit into a nice good stretch for 2 minutes. So what we're trying to do is push the knee down and forward, and we're going to hold right there. So right now, if you're doing this properly, you should feel a stretch in the back of the calf, almost kind of like the lower part. So we're going to sit here now for 2 minutes, and the hardest part about this is just being comfortable here. So you should be kind of almost at about a 6 or 7 out of 10 in terms of a stretch. If you're trying to breathe, be nice and relaxed, nice and calm, getting this tissue to open up. So now while we have about another 90 seconds to wait, we're going to go over what we're going to do next. So at the end of the 2 minutes, we're going to do what's called pails and rails. And all it is a fancy way of saying is we're going to develop strength isometrically, which means no movement is happening at the end ranges of our range of motion. So when we get to that point, she's going to act like she's driving her toes into the ground. So it's almost like you're doing a calf raise, but you're not going to move, and that is the key here. So we got to stay in this stretch for the entire duration of this thing. So once we do the pails, which is the pushing down, so you're activating the tissue that's being stretched. Then we're going to get into the rails, which is the really, really hard part. So in order for us to get deeper into the stretch, we have to get stronger in the front of our shin. That's where the rails come from. So when we get there, we're going to act like we're trying to close this gap between the toes and the shin by turning on all this tissue. We're going to get there. This is where it might get you might feel cramps. It does not feel great, but you have to put in the work if you want to expand your range of motion. So we got about 20 seconds left before we get started. So we're still sitting in that passive stretch. Do not come out of this. Sometimes if you're not as mobile as Stacy is, you can have a block here, you can hold on to something, you can hold on the bench. Whatever you gotta do, you just gotta make it through all the way to 2 minutes. All right, we got about 10 seconds. So keep breathing. And then when we start these pails, we wanna start creating tension. So start bracing your abs, you might speed up your breathing a little bit. All right, so we're gonna start. We're gonna imagine there's something underneath our toes, and we are pushing our toes into the ground without our heel coming off for 10, 9, 8, 7. You keep pushing down. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. You're gonna freeze. Now we're gonna try to use the front of that. So we're actually pulling our toes up almost and pulling our shin forward, turning on here, Keep that heel down for 5, 4, 3, 2, and now stay in this new stretch. So now we're sitting here passively. The last 2 things were active. This is all about being passive. So for demonstration purposes, we're only going to sit here for another 2 minutes, and then we're going to go into the other foot. Typically, I would have people do 2 rounds of the pails and rails. So you do 2-minute stretch, pails and rails, 2-minute stretch, pails and rails, and then sit there for another 2 minutes. We don't want to make this exercise video too long today. So we're going to sit here. We got about a little over a minute left. So right now you should be at a pretty big stretch, probably like an 8 or a 9. You're still breathing, staying nice and calm. Do whatever you got to do. You can see Stacy has a ton of range in this thing. She's just got to get really stronger in that range, because otherwise if she gets put there and she doesn't have control, that's going to be a big, big problem. So that's why we do these things. If you have a big passive range of motion compared to a very small active range of motion, that's where a lot of problems are going to happen. We need to close that gap between passive and active. Got 30 seconds left. Keep breathing, keep breathing. Once again, figure out whatever you gotta do to get comfortable in this stretch. Put your hands on the ground, put your hands on a block, med ball, whatever you got available. Some people even do this if they got really limited ankle mobility. They can do it with their foot up on the bench. You just gotta do what you gotta do. All right, you've been in this stretch for a while. Slowly come out of this, okay? So kind of rock back. You've been in a very far in range of motion. Excellent. All right, kind of do a couple little circles with the ankle, just get some blood flow in there. And now let's spin around, Stacy, and now we're gonna do the other side. So once again, we're gonna establish a good stretch position. Good, heel stays down, we're driving that knee forward, and we're just gonna sit, so you can use your body, everything you can to put yourself in a pretty big stretch. And let's start the clock. We're gonna sit here for just about 2 minutes. Keep pushing that knee forward. Now, unfortunately, mobility training is not the sexiest thing in the world. It takes time. There's no quick fix. You have to put in the time. But you notice how we're doing a passive stretch, and then we're getting stronger and we're getting active in that stretch, and that's the key. If she just sat here and just kept stretching for minutes and minutes and minutes, she's not going to get to keep it. She's basically creating passive range of motion. She's not creating active range of motion. And that's where the pails and rails come in. We want to be as active as humanly possible. So if somebody is stretching your calves for you, or you're just kind of hanging off a ledge like a typical calf stretch, that's good and all, but you're not preparing your body for what you're going to do. Because when you get out there running and you get put in that huge range of motion, you need to be able to produce force, and that's once again where this comes into play. We got about 45 seconds left, and then we're going to start pushing. Keep breathing here. So right now, this is kind of like the calming portion of this. You should just be casually breathing. If you can't breathe, you're pushing your stretch way, way too far. Good. About 30 seconds left. So you can get a little bit deeper in that stretch there. Right there. It's going to be about 6, 7 right here. All right, 10 more seconds. So once again, with the pails, we're going to drive the toes. So let's act like we're doing a calf raise without us going anywhere. So in 3, 2, 1, drive those toes in the ground. Heel stays down. You should feel the tension being created in the back of what's being stretched. For 5, 4, 3, 2. We're going to freeze. Do not come out of it. And now try to close the gap between the shin and the foot. You're turning this tissue on, turning that tissue on, turning that tissue on, turning it on, turning it on. For 4, 3, 2, and now sit down in this new passive stretch. Good, stay right there, keep that heel on the ground. Make sure your knee is tracking forward, not into the inside or the outside. And now reestablish that good stretch position. And so now you should typically kind of be relaxed. No more activating tissue. We're just sitting passively in this stretch. Like I mentioned earlier, we're only doing 1 round for demonstration purposes, but feel free to do up to 2 or 3 rounds of these guys. Just make sure you're nice, breathing right now. The hardest part is just staying in this position for an extended period of time. So do whatever you got to do with your setup, whether it's put medicine balls here, you can put a bench here, whatever you got, just make sure you hang out there for a little bit. Okay, we got about 1 more minute. And don't compare your mobility to Stacy. She's got really, really mobile ankles. That's what allows her to run now. This is what we're getting to, but just ankles take forever to improve. So if you start doing this 2 or 3 times a week, you'll start to see improvement after probably a week or 2. And then it just gradually comes from there. You got 30 seconds left. Keep that heel down, keep that heel down. So when we come out of this, we're going to get into what's called ankle cars. So we'll take this time to explain what those are. Cars are controlled articular rotations. And they're what lets us establish more active ranges in our passive ranges of motion. So we just got done increasing our ankle range, so then we're going to go keep it by instilling the cars right after it. We got 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Perfect. Come out of that very slowly. And now we're going to sit on our butt and we're going to go over ankle cars. So we're going to sit with our left foot out in front of us, right leg underneath. And now we're going to take our left arm and we're going to hook underneath our right, grab our right forearm, and then we're going to grab the front of our shin. So what we're doing with our right hand is we're trying to block our tibia from movement. We're going to get into those next, but right now we want to isolate just the ankle. So we're going to sit back on our butt a little bit, pick our foot up. Now we're going to act like we are pushing down on the gas pedal. We're going to hold that position. So we're straightening this shin as best we can. We're going to come out a little bit. We're going to come up, 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 and then we're going to try to touch those toes to our shin, getting this tissue to turn on. We're going to come a little over, and then now we're going to push back down, lengthening, 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 come under, and then back over. We're going to go 5 each direction. So keep going with this, Stacey. Looks good. So if you almost think like you're kind of doing like a race car, like oval track, that's kind of the path. If you get too out to the side, then we start incorporating that tibia, and we don't want to do that. We want everything to come from the ankle joint. And so this is the first time you've ever done this. The front of your shin's probably going to be burning like crazy, and that's a good thing. We need to get more activation in that tissue. Good. Let's get one more going this direction. Push down that gas pedal, down, 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 and back up to start. And now let's come out to the side. We're going to go left first, come down, back up, 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 reach, 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 and then back over. Let's get 5 on this side. So ankle cars are a really great thing to do not only every day, but if you're about to go out and hit the pavement running, bang out 5 or 6 ankle cars. It's good for you. It gets blood flow, prepares your ankles for what you're about to go do. Looks good, looks good. And especially right after you get done doing pails and rests for your ankles, go use the ankle cars and let you keep what you just established. Last one. Looks good. All right, and let's go to the other side now, right leg. So if you struggle getting into this position, go ahead and pick on up, and let's go. Let's go to the outside first. Perfect. So if you struggle being in this position, you can always lean up against the wall, couch, chair, whatever you got. It just makes it a little bit easier. Nice and smooth. If you hear little crunchies and poppies and all that kind of weird stuff on our ankle, that's totally fine. It's not a bad thing. Don't freak out. Just keep going at it, and the more you do it, the less those things will happen. So another cool thing about cars, it's one of the only ways that we actually get blood flow into the joint. So our tissue in our joints, there's not like an active blood flow that goes in there. They're not blood pumping in there. The only way we get blood into there is by taking them through a great range of motion every single day. So that's why cars are so important. Good. Switch. Go ahead and switch directions. Try to stay in that little oval shape. So try not to go too far out to the outside, even though it might feel good. We're trying to draw like that NASCAR oval track. You gotta put in the time with your mobility, guys. It doesn't come overnight. So this stuff, once again, doesn't look all that great, but it does work. Just keep hacking away. Looks good, looks good. And last one. All right, now we're gonna get into the tibia. So the tibial one has almost the exact same setup as the ankle. So let's go ahead and switch to the left leg. So what we're trying to do here is get this bone to move. So our tibia is actually meant to rotate externally and internally. So we're going to establish that, and then we're going to take it to its greatest range of motion. So once again, take the left arm, hook underneath, grab the right forearm, and grab here. I like to start by putting my finger just underneath my knee. There's that big ridge right here. Pull the foot up in a dorsiflexion, and first just start by rotating side to side. Now, you're not going to have a ton of range here, and what you'll end up doing is you'll roll your ankle. Don't do that. Imagine this is like a windshield wiper, and you're trying to keep your foot as flat as possible. So just nice and smooth, and if you've never done this before, you're not going to have a lot of range going to the inside. That's totally normal. You'll have a lot going out, but not in. And just get a couple here so you understand the concept of that bone moving. Excellent. And now we're going to actually get into the tibial car. So get a good hook. You're going to go inside. Good. Out letting the ankle roll. You're going to lean back a little bit. You're going to extend your knee. And now we're going to rotate to the outside and then come down, go in, up, out, and down. We're going to do that for 5 total. Less is best here, guys. Don't try to rotate your ankle all the way inside, otherwise you're going to start to roll that ankle, and now you turn it to not only a tibia but also an ankle thing. We're trying to isolate each joint individually. And another thing with the cars is don't freak out if one of your cars on your left side is way better than your right or vice versa. Everybody's legs are different. Your left leg and your right leg are very, very rarely the same with everything. And relax. All right, let's go ahead and switch to that right leg. So left leg under, hook the right arm underneath. Let's start, pull the foot up. Let's just get a good rotation back and forth. Make sure we feel that tibia bone moving. It is a little freaky the first time you feel your tibia rotating side to side. Good. We've established that. All right, let's go to the inside. Let's extend our knee. Let's rotate to the outside and then come down slow. And that's one. Let's get 4 more of those, guys. Looks good. Keep breathing with the cars and don't try to go as high as you can. Make this nice and relaxed, nice and controlled. This is kind of the easier part of your mobility training. Looks good. And finish up. All right, now we're going to get into the pails and rails of hip extension, which is all about trying to get our leg behind us. When you run, you should have a little bit of a forward lean, and this extending that hip is what allows us to be propelled forward. Most people lack this, so we need to open up that front hip socket. So we're going to have Stacy get into a half kneeling position. She's going to bring her left foot a little bit more forward. And then now from this position, she's going to flatten her abs and her spine, kind of tucking down, and she's going to try to drive your pelvis down and forward, feeling a big stretch in the front of that hip socket. So use the bench, use whatever you got to get in this position. Let's walk that left foot out a little bit more. Good. And just come down and let's freeze right there. And now we're going to hold for 2 minutes again. So right now, you should feel a pretty big stretch in your right hip flexor, which is kind of the front of your right hip. What we don't want to have happen is trying to arc our spine to get more. So we're kind of keeping that good connection between our rib cage and our pelvis. Nice straight line, you should feel your abs engaged. And if you want to make a bigger stretch, act like you're squeezing your right butt cheek a little bit. And you'll start to feel that tissue turn on. Looks good, looks good. Once again, do whatever you gotta do to make this comfortable. Whether you put med balls down, she's holding onto the bench so she can kind of sit here passively. This should be okay, we gotta spend some time here. Looks good. Once again, with this pails and rails, we're gonna hold for 2 minutes. We'll do a quick set of the pails and rails, we'll hold for another 2 minutes. And then we'll switch sides. Feel free to do more than one round of the pails and rails. So now we're going to get into what the actual pails and rails of this guy is. So if we're trying to stretch and lengthen this tissue, the pails is going to be us activating that tissue. So you're not going to move here, but when we get to it, it's going to be act like you're trying to drag that right knee forward, feeling the front hip flexor turn on. We'll do that for 10 seconds. We'll freeze. And then it's like we're trying to drive our right knee backward. You're not going to move, but you're going to feel your glutes turn on. Don't freak out if you cramp, just kind of shake it out and get right back to it. We'll do 10 seconds pails, 10 seconds rails, and then we're going to drive our hips down and forward to reestablish a new stretch position. It's good, we've got 15 seconds left. Keep breathing. When we start this pails, it's okay to start picking up your breath. This is very hard stuff when we get to the pails and rails. Pass the stretch, be comfortable, pails and rails, get really active. All right, let's start ramping up our tension. Brace our abs. Let's try to pull that right knee forward. You're not going to go anywhere. It's like you're pulling it across the ground. You're not moving. For 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We're going to freeze, and now we're going to try to push that right knee backward, turning on that glute. Let's go. 10, 9. So we're trying to create more space. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, freeze, and now sitting with a little bit deeper stretch by driving the pelvis forward without changing anything between your right knee and your right shoulder. We have a nice straight line, and we should be in a really, really big stretch right now, right in front of that hip capsule.
Usually it's better down here.
Okay, even better then. Just get comfortable. So once again, we're going to sit here for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes. This is kind of calming down and breathing. And don't freak out if you're not as mobile as Stacy. She's done this a lot. She's got a lot of space to play with, so we're trying to own each of those. But just go to where you can and make sure you feel a big stretch in front of that right hip. Just gonna do a quick little check-in. Are you going into hyperextension on your spine, or are you in a nice straight line? So a good setup for some people is they put the bench here, just kind of lets their arms rest on it. They can put their arms like that, almost like they're doing like a plank. Put a med ball down, whatever you gotta do. Stacy feels pretty comfortable with her left hand on the ground, so she gets to stay there. Keep breathing, keep breathing. We got about another 20 seconds. Looks good, looks good. If you wanted to jazz this up a little bit, guys, you can always pick your foot up off the ground. If you've got a lot of space to play with, that's a very advanced thing, but it is doable. It's good for 10 more seconds. Now when you come out of this, your hip flexor is gonna be it's been under a lot of stress, so slowly come out of this, and we're going to drop our chest down. So slowly push yourself out using your hands. Good, good. Walk that left foot back a little bit. Good, and now slowly bring, and we're going to switch legs. Perfect. All right, that should feel pretty good, closing that gap between that hip, because it was open for a long time, so we want to close it. So all right, now let's get into that left leg. So reestablish, let's get a good stretch position. Let's try to open up the front of that left hip for 2 minutes, and let's go. So push those hips down, Good. Let's pull the rib cage down a little bit and let's get into a good stretch. If you feel like you need to walk that right foot out to give you a little bit more space, do so. And let's sit in our good stretch position. Looks good, looks good. You always need more hip extension. When you sit down in a chair all day, and if you're a runner, like you gotta open up those hip sockets. Looks good, looks good. All right, we're about 40 seconds in, guys. A little less than a minute left. Keep breathing, everything's nice and calm. It's okay to smile during this stuff, even though it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but just put in your time with mobility and your body will thank you. Got about 30 seconds left here. Make sure you're not causing any kind of sketchiness or pain here. If it feels sketchy, back off. It's not worth it. Good, keep breathing. All right, guys, let's get into our pails. So once again, we're gonna try to pull that left knee forward, activating the tissue that's been stretched. So get you a good base, radiate some tension, and now let's pull it forward. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. We're gonna freeze, and now we're gonna try to push that left knee backwards and begin. Go, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, freeze, and now sit into a deeper stretch with that left hip flexor. And boom, right there, excellent. Just hold this position, do whatever you gotta do to be comfortable. We'll hold for about 90 seconds, and then we're gonna get into hip cars. So just like we did with the dorsiflexion with the ankles, we immediately follow with the ankle cars. We'll do the same thing with the hip. Keep breathing here, keep breathing. And now this should just feel really good. We should be at about a 7, 7.5 in our stretch in terms of the scale of 1 to 10. Do a quick little check-in. Is your spine flat? Are your hips engaged? If you want to squeeze that left butt cheek a little bit more to open up that front of the hip a little bit. Looks good, looks good. Let's pull our shoulder blades together just a little bit. There we go. This is always a good thing to do if you got some TV to watch, you got some music playing, do whatever you got to do just to make this time as enjoyable as possible, because you are going to spend a lot of time in these positions. Just keep everything nice and smooth. We got about 30 seconds left. Good. Keep breathing, keep breathing. Once again, when you come out of this, be very gentle. Things have been exposed for a very long time, so we got to close that joint off real quick. A couple more deep breaths and we'll come out. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, slowly come out of that guy. All right, let's go ahead and stand on up, and now we're going to get into the hip car. So Stace, we're going to have you face this way, holding onto the bench. So we're going to start with your left leg. So stay right on the end of the mat, perfect. So you always want to hold on to something when you're doing your hip cars. Don't be out here. Get something good so you can create more tension. So with the hip car, we're going to take the hip to its greatest range of motion. So we're going to first start. Let's take our left hand out to the side like a T. We're going to pull the left knee up. We're going to hold, see if we can get a little bit higher, crank out that range of motion. And now we're going to open the barn door. We're going to rotate, foot comes high, hip stays down, and then we're going to swoop behind. We're going to try to own that new position of that hip extension, and then we're going to pull back through and pause. And that's one. We're going to get 5 total here. Go real slow, real smooth. And just kind of feel what's going on. If this is the first time you've ever done hip cars, it's going to feel extremely awkward. You're going to feel like it almost like skips, like a CD skipping. Old school reference there. Nice and smooth. Keep your abs engaged. We don't want our pelvis going in and out. Everything's nice and tall. Looks good, looks good. Keep breathing, keep breathing. Good. And last one to finish up. Own that back position. That's what we just worked so hard for. Go ahead and spin around. Let's do the other side. So get a good position. Pull that right knee up as high as we can. And now open. And rotate. Good. Come through. Open. Rotate. through. So you're gonna try to get the biggest range of motion you can with this. So get that knee up as high as you can, but try to lean back, try to activate other things. We're only trying to work on getting a better hip here, not trying to get a better torso, lumbar, into that other stuff. Nice and smooth, keep breathing. That's good. And one more to finish up. And down, excellent. All right, we're gonna get to the quadruped hip extension passive range hold, which is a long way of saying we're gonna work on owning this back position. So we're gonna get on all fours. So quadruped means that. Anytime you see quadruped, that means you're gonna get on all fours. So we're gonna work on her left leg to start with. So we're gonna get nice and locked. We're going to straighten our back leg, keep our foot on the ground. Now we're gonna try to lift this leg as high as we can. Wherever that position is, we're gonna hold it for 10 seconds for 3 rounds, all right? So make sure our back stays nice and flat. So envision you have a glass of water there. We don't wanna spill the glass of water. We're all engaged. Nothing else is moving. We're going to have her lift her left foot straight up. That's her end range position. She's owning it, and now she's gonna hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Just let it fall. Good. Get tight again, and now lift up. And we're gonna hold 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax, let it fall. Let's get tight, make sure that pelvis isn't rotating at all. And now let's lift right back up. Last one, and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and drop. All right, let's stay right there. Let's go to the right leg. Now, if your leg doesn't come that high, that's totally fine. Don't try to get it higher by compensating with your pelvis. All right, get tight, brace those abs, and let's lift up. Own our top position and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and drop. Reestablish those abs, make sure we're engaged, and lift up, and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, drop. Last one, get really, really tight, and now lift up and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. All right, so we worked on getting stronger at our extension. Now we're gonna work on getting stronger in our flexion. So we're gonna have Stacy come on up. Right foot here, she's gonna grab the bench, and then she's going to grab her knee and pull it up as high as she possibly can. Let's get into that position. So don't try to pick your leg up, because it's not gonna go as high as you can bring it up. So grab, and now pull your knee up as high as you can. We're gonna hold here for a second. Squeeze that right leg, brace those abs. And when she lets go of her hand, hopefully her knee's not gonna drop. She's gonna try to hold it at this highest range for 10 seconds and then let it fall. Disengage the hands, and we're gonna hold for 10, 9, 8, 7, keep kicking it up, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, let it fall. Good, go down, grab it, reestablish, pull it right back up, hold, go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, let it fall. Bend over, grab that knee one more time. Last one, guys. Let's get tall. Try not to lean back. Let go of the hand. Hopefully it stays there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. Let's come around the other side. We'll flip it for you. All right, let's go. Get a good grip of that right leg. Pull it up. Make sure you're nice and tall. You're not leaning back. And let go of the hand. And hold. 10, 9, 8, 7. Keep trying to lift it up. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Let it fall. Reach down, grab, pull it back up. Get tall, tall, tall. And let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Let it fall. Last one. Get a good grip. Own that position. Brace those abs. Lock the left leg. Let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and relax. All right, last but not least, guys, we're going to take our shoes and socks off, and we're going to go over toe carves. So our toes are meant to be able to do a lot of cool stuff. They need to be able to extend and flex independently. So if you're spending a lot of time on the road, your feet are getting the crap kicked out of them. We got to open up those toes and get all that tissue moving. So We're gonna stand here. We're gonna have our feet flat. So we always wanna keep this inside bone, this outside bone, and our heel in contact with the ground the whole time. So we have 4 different versions here. The first one is we're gonna keep all 4 toes on the ground, and we're gonna try to pick that big toe up. And then we're gonna drop him. We're gonna do that 10 more or 9 more times. Pick up and drop. If this is the first time you've ever done this, sometimes your toes don't move. That's okay, you just gotta practice. If you wanna do one leg at a time, that's fine as well. Just work on getting your toes, big toe and your other 4 toes to move independently of each other. Good, let's get 5 more. Try not to let your feet roll because you're gonna wanna roll to the outside when you do this. 2 more. All right, now we're gonna keep the big toe down and now try to pick up the other 4 toes. Let's get 10, guys. Hand up. First thing in the morning is usually a good time to do these, maybe while brushing your teeth as well. Good, 2 things at once. Keep trying to pick up. If you're having a really hard time with this, you can always go down and grab your toes and pull them up. That's totally fine, just so you can kind of get the feeling of it. If you wear high heels a lot or you wear a lot of big, thick shoes, you need to do some extra care for your feet. Let's get 1 more here. All right, now we're gonna get the next part. So everything's up in the air now. So I still have the bone of my foot on the ground, but just my toes are up. Now, I'm gonna try to push all 4 toes down, big toe stays up. And up, we're getting 10 of these guys as well. You need to be able to control your toes, guys. I've never met anybody who had really good toe control that got plantar fasciitis. So if you suffer from that, it's because you don't own your feet. Good, let's get 4 more. 3. Sorry, I can't look up to the camera, guys. Doing this is very, very difficult. Good, you're probably gonna get a toe cramp or a foot cramp. And relax. All right, last one, guys. We're gonna go toes up, big toe goes down. This is my most difficult one. I got pretty good at this by starting out by just doing 1 foot at a time. Just go at your own pace. Try not to make your brain hurt because you're trying to think about your toes so darn much. I once saw a person stare at his toes for 20 minutes until they finally moved. He was determined. Keep moving. Let's get 3 left. See, mobility can be fun. 2 more. Good. 1 more good one. Squish that bug with that big toe. Ooh, and shake them all out. All right, guys, that's the end of today's workout. Make mobility work a priority in your routine if you're a running enthusiast. By doing so, your joints will thank you. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, be strong and be mobile.